we ask that William Lane Craig actually do a bit more research and stop being so lazy with his criticisms. And on the other hand, we ask that the Ash'aris abandon this position, which contradicts the Quran and Sunnah and sound aql. Today we have a very interesting episode for you guys, where I will be reviewing a recent clip from a Christian, William Lane Craig. A lot of Muslims are familiar with because he has popularized today something which is called the Kalam cosmological argument. People have seen him in debates with many atheists. He typically debates atheists, but he's debated some Muslims in the past as well. So many of my audience would be familiar with William Lane Craig. I've done videos critiquing his understanding of Islam before, and this is another example where, for whatever reason, William Lane Craig, who seems to be a thorough researcher when it comes to refuting atheism and even dealing with other Christians, but when it comes to Islam, it seems like all of that goes out the window. Very poor research skills when it comes to Islam, doesn't really seek to accurately represent Islam in the best manner, no nuance whatsoever. All of these problems with William Lane Craig anytime he really speaks about Islam. So people should wonder why that is, but this is just one more example. Anyway, let's jump straight up into the clip, and then I'll comment on it, inshallah.
Next question. This is from Canada. Greetings, Dr. Craig. I'm a Muslim who happened to stumble upon your website to explore answers to the question of God's omnibenevolence. Your answer to the question is quite insightful. I did, however, wish to raise one question, though. In your Question of the Week, number 177, Perfect Being Theology article, I was surprised to see you say, so suppose someone is not a moral nihilist and thinks that omnibenevolence is a moral property, but denies that God has it because it infringes on his omnipotence. I can imagine a Muslim arguing this way. End of quote. I'm curious to know where you'd learned that Muslims deny an omnibenevolent God. A clear counter-argument can be drawn from practically any page in the Quran, as the two most oft-repeating names of God are the most merciful and the most forgiving. Respectfully, Asib in Canada.
Mm-hmm. What I meant, Asib, is that it seems to me that in Islam, omnibenevolence is not an essential property of God, because God's omnipotence trumps everything. It trumps even his own moral character. So, for example, Muslims actually believe that on the day of judgment, if God wanted to, he is so powerful that he could decide at that last minute that he's going to send all faithful Muslims to hellfire forever, and he's going to instead save all of the Christians and the atheists. And for the Muslim, God is so omnipotent that you cannot say that he would be constrained by his moral character or omnibenevolence from doing such a thing. He can do whatever he wants. And so that's what I meant. It seems to me that in Islam, there is this view that the omnipotence of God supersedes or trumps any other characters that he might have, including even his mercy and love.
So there you have it, guys. Now, does that sound like what Muslims believe and Islam teaches, right? That God's omnipotence or his power supersedes and is above all of his other attributes like his goodness or his mercy and his love, such that God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can one day on Judgment Day, just off of a whim for no reason at all, just decide that he wants to send all Muslims to hellfire for eternity and have all the Christians and the atheists into paradise. This is not what we believe, right? So many Muslims are thinking, where the heck is he getting this from? So on the one hand, I want to say that Craig is overgeneralizing, that he is not being nuanced. And I think a lot of it is not even necessarily malicious. I just think he's extremely ignorant of Islam and what Islamic theology actually teaches. But where might he be getting this idea from? Well, where he's getting it actually from is from Ash'ari Aqidah. They believe in these type of things. They believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes are almost like a pyramid scheme where his power is at the top and everything else is underneath that, such that they do have the position that God does things for absolutely no reason at all. And people have challenged me on this. I have an entire article detailing this. They reject the concept of ta'lil, right? Which the Maturidis actually have basically said is kufr. It's kufr to reject this notion of ta'lil, or the idea that Allah actually has reasons for why he does things. Because it results in, and which I detail in my article, it results in not being able to affirm nubuwah or prophethood and miracles and things of that nature. Anyway, you can find that a link to that article where I detail that in the description of this video. Nevertheless, the Ash'ari, classical Ash'ari theology does have this conception of God where his power is so ultimate that there is no really consideration of hikmah or wisdom or goodness or mercy or love when commanding things. God can do anything for no reason at all, right? There is no moral scheme or moral framework by which God does anything or has to appeal to. And they believe that on the contrary, if you do think so, that you are constraining God's will. You are constraining God's power if you say that he couldn't do something like that, right? But, you know, our position is that it's not that God can't do certain things because of his power, meaning that he's weak. It's not as if that he can't do something because out of neglect of his power or weakness, as if he doesn't have the ability to do so. No, it's because it would contradict one of his other attributes, like his perfection, like his hikmah or his wisdom, or his all love, mercy, all of these different attributes. So what I want to say is, Craig's critique is actually a good critique of the Ash'ari position, but that is not the mainstream theological view that Atharis hold to of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's not the position of the Quran, which is very clear, which the I don't know what the caller or the questioner who wrote in the questioner his position is. He may not even know about these distinctions, but he was upon the fitrah or upon the correct understanding of the Quran when it comes to this, that this is not the Quranic position, right? And he gave examples of this. Quran constantly repeats that Allah is the most merciful and gracious, right? So here I want to share my screen and show you guys what the actual correct position is related to this issue. This is from an article written by Brother Bassam Zawadi, and the article is called An Islamic Response to Euthyphro's Dilemma. So it's not 100% directly on this issue, but it's related. And I want to read a couple quotes here from Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, which relates to this issue, right? So it says, Allah's wisdom complements Allah's love, this is Bassam writing, by directing Allah's will to actualize the purposes that he loves. So when Craig makes this a conflation between like, oh, God's power is trumping his love and mercy. No, this is not the ethity or correct position. Allah's wisdom complements Allah's love by directing Allah's will to actualize the purposes that he loves, as that would be the wise thing for Allah to do. Moreover, Allah's love and hatred of things is wise, not arbitrary and capricious. Meaning it's not arbitrary and capricious that one day on Judgment Day, he's just going to say, oh, I'm going to send all the Muslims to hell and the Christians and atheists are going to go to paradise. No, it doesn't work like that. That's a possibility on the Ash'ari account where God's will is completely arbitrary and capricious. Ibn Taymiyyah establishes the correlation and interplay of these attributes nicely, right? And then here's the quote. So it says, this is from Ibn Taymiyyah. God is knowing and wise, so he knows things as they are in themselves. And he is wise in what he loves and wills, what he speaks, what he commands, and what he does. So, if he knows that a given act and a given thing is characterized by that which renders it worthy of blame and deserving of hatred and repugnance, it is part of his wisdom that he would hate it and find it repugnant. And if he knows that by coming into existence it will help realize a praiseworthy and beloved wise purpose, it is part of his wisdom that he should create it and will it on account of this beloved wise purpose, which it serves to realize. And this translation is from a text called Ibn Taymiyyah's theological ethics, right? So very clearly, does this sound like a God who, oh, his power is completely above and can be opposed to his love and mercy, and without consideration of his love, mercy, and wisdom, he can just do whatever he pleases. He can't be questioned as to why. There is no why to God's actions whatsoever under the Ash'ari account. There is no reason why God does anything on the Ash'ari account, but there is a reason why he does things on the Athari account, because we actually affirm what the clear text of the Quran and Sunnah actually say. And of course, it doesn't even make sense from a rational perspective to deny that God does anything for reasons. I mean, to say that God does everything he does for no reason at all is ridiculous. And that's why many Ash'aris who online can't even believe that this is the Ash'ari position, but I detail that in their rejection of ta'lil in the article which is in the description of this video, which the Maturidis actually say is a kufri position. So much for them believing in the same aqidah and having the same usul. So here's another quote from the same text, and this is by Ibn Taymiyyah. It says, God created things for a wise purpose, and he loves that wise purpose and is well pleased with it. When he creates what he hates, it is for the sake of what he loves. Those who differentiate between love and will have said, a sick man wants medicine, but does not love it. He loves what it results in, namely restored vigor and elimination of ill health. God created all things according to his will, and he wills everything he has created and the wise purpose that he loves. So what he wills is related to his wisdom and love. It's not absent of it. It's not arbitrary and capricious as the way that Craig presents it, where he's mainly saying that the Islamic position, or in Islam, and what Muslims say or what Muslims believe, but really it's just the Ash'ari position, and we reject it for the same reasons that Craig is critical of it from a rational perspective, and of course because it contradicts the Quran and Sunnah. And if he does not love certain entities or actions among the things he has created, he loves the wise purposes on account of which he created them. Okay, so it's very clear what Ibn Taymiyyah is saying here. It's very clear what the Athari position is, and anyone who's familiar with the Quran and Sunnah would know that this is the obvious position of the meaning of the Quran and Sunnah on its apparent meaning. But the Ash'aris have to jump through hoops and hooks and ladders and all kind of gymnastics in order to say otherwise. With that being said, still we have to criticize William Lane Craig, because although it's a somewhat decent critique of the Ash'ari view, he tried to represent it as if this is all of Islamic theology and what Muslims wholesale believe. It would be like me if I did such a sloppy job of criticizing a Catholic view on the bodily assumption of Mary and then attributing that to all of Christians and saying, yeah, this is what Christians believe and this is what Christianity teaches. Craig wouldn't affirm that, and he would think that that's unfair and not really someone who is doing good research in his critique. So we ask that William Lane Craig actually do a bit more research and stop being so lazy with his criticisms. And on the other hand, we ask that the Ash'aris abandon this position which contradicts the Quran and Sunnah and sound aql. With that being said, guys, hope that you found this video educational. If you did and you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get notified of future videos. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment and let me know your thoughts about Craig and the Ash'ari position. Let me know if you agree that it's nonsensical and that Craig is being lazy with his research on Islam. Also, share this with your social media platforms or your friends and family, no matter how big or small your reach is. It really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you want to go above and beyond and support my channel and some of the unique things that I'm doing and contributing to the dawah here on my channel, then please consider going to the GoFundMe link, which will be pinned in the comments of this video, as well in the description of this video and my other videos. With that being said, guys, until next time, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.